Yeah, what we have here is construction testing documents. So what do we need these construction testing documents for? So the purpose of these construction testing document is to maintain records of all tests performed. That means maybe during your construction process, you did your soil test and all the tests you've carried out. So is to maintain the records of all these tests performed, then also to verify construction quality, because you are performing this test to avoid errors, to avoid mistakes. So this is actually done to verify construction quality, then also to help take note of your safety and compliance, because safety is very very paramount in construction, and not all engineers on site tends to comply with the safety guidelines and procedures. So it is very very important to have these construction testing documents, then also to note your safety and comply to these safety guidelines. So we'll be looking at some of these points enlisted here, of which the first point is material report. So we'll look at the points under material report, then concrete testing records. Also look at some points under testing records, then soil test documents. So what are the documents you need for your soil test? Then quality inspection report. So what are those reports? How do you write your report? What are those things that are required for your quality inspection? Then equipment testing records. So your equipment that you used on site. So what are those tests that is carried out on the equipment? So you keep the records. Then we now have the final testing and approval. So all these things, they have points underneath them that we are going to be looking at and assessing how to utilize these points to improve our. Yeah, so the first point we have here is material testing reports. So we have so many points underneath these material testing reports. So and the first thing to look out for there is cement test result. So because before you use your cement in your construction, that is if it is a large construction that you are undertaking, so you have to do your cement tests. And once you've done this cement test, you also get results for the cement, because from your soil test you are going to even know the kind of foundation, because the soil test is going to tell you the type of foundation you're going to need for the structure. Then you also do your cement test to know the type of cement that is going to go well with the structure. Then we also have aggregate quality report, because you also test your aggregate too to know the one that is suitable. So and after that you have your aggregate and quality report, then steel test certificate, because most people use TNT, but aside that there are other steel in the market that you can actually use. But how do you know which one that is going to be suitable for your structure? That is why steel test is carried out. Then at the end of your steel test, you are going to be issued steel test certificate. Then we now have concrete materials check, because in the market these days you have different type of materials in the market. Your sand, some they will tell you it's sharp sand but it's not looking sharp. Then some you see your gravel, which is your aggregate, which is not. Some they tend to use dead rocks for their aggregates, and you just buy it and use, which tends to have significant effect on your structure. So your concrete material checks is very very important, because it helps you to know the type of materials you are using for your construction. So material test report tend to have all these points: cement test result, aggregate quality report, steel test certificate, and concrete material checks. So we'll move to the next point. Yeah, the next point is concrete testing records, because your concrete tends to have different type of tests you do, either your workability test, then your compressive strength test, and all those things. So but you have to actually have a record of all of these tests that you've done. So the first test you're looking at is your slump test, report. So because once you do your slump test on site, it is very, very important you have the slump test result, right? So that will indicate that the test has been carried out. Then we have cube compressive strength result, because if you undertake those compressive strength for cube, whereby you tend to have your mold, you do your casting of your cubes, then you do your test on 7 days, 14 days, 28 days, and so on and so forth, then you still have to have that compressive strength report, which tends to give you your readings of what you did and how the experiment went on. Then the next thing to look out is concrete pouring result. You understand? You do your concrete pouring test, and then you also have reports for your concrete pouring. So this is going to tell you at what height you're going to be pouring from, at what depth you're going to be pouring into, the area, of pour. You understand? Then how you're going to do your pouring. Are you going to need your concrete pumps, or you're going to just do your manual mixing and all those things? So these are significant tests that you should take note of when constructing. Yeah, the next thing to look out for is soil testing documents. So if you want to do your soil investigation, what are those documents that are relatable? What are those documents that are significant to the construction you want to undergo? And what are those documents that are very, very important during your soil test? So we have the soil investigation report. Soil investigation report tells you the nature of the soil, the type of the soil you have on site, the one you're going to excavate, the one you're going to get to fill, the portion you've excavated. So soil investigation report is very, very important. Then we have compaction test result. So compaction test result is also an important test you tend to carry out, because maybe once you've done your refill and you compacted in layer, you tend to do your compaction test. So then the result of that compaction test is what we are referring to here. So it is very, very important you know if the compaction you've done will be able to carry the weight coming on it. That is the foundation weight. Then we have the bearing capacity records. So maybe you did your bearing capacity test. You understand? That is to know the soil bearing capacity. So and all these records is very, very important, because your soil bearing capacity will tell you if the structure will be able to hold. It tell you the type of foundation you are going to require for your building. So it is a very, very important test, and it is good you have the records of all these tests. Yeah, the next thing we have is quality inspection report. So quality inspection, just as it is stated, is very, very important, because you first of all start with site inspection checklist. So your site inspection checklist, because you have to use your checklist to know, those areas that are deficient, those areas that the work is rightly done, those areas that need more improvement, those areas that is not even done at all. So with your checklist, you'll be able to, find, those things that needs to be done additional, those things that hasn't been done, or those things that has been done, but there are still some little touches that has to be improved. So your checklist is very, very important. Then we have non-performance report, that is the NCR. So the non-performance report is a report that helps you stipulate out clearly those areas that the contractor or the engineer has not really done what should have been done. Then we have corrective action records. So with your corrective action records, you can see that the checklist and the confinement report and the corrective actions records actually work hand on hand. So it's just together as a quality inspection report. So with this quality inspection report, it takes care of your checklist. You understand? That is your site inspection checklist. Then your conformance report, then your correction action report. So they are all underneath your quality inspection checklist. So if they make mention of quality inspection checklist, the first thing that comes to your mind is your checklist, right? Then your NCR, then your corrective action record. So they are all under quality inspection report. Yeah, for equipment testing records. So your equipment on site, you have to actually even check if these equipments are functional, because sometimes you can just tell them to bring so and so equipment and machineries, tools for you, but it's your responsibility to check if these equipments and machineries are actually functional. You understand? Not that once it is time for the work to be done, that is where you are now finding out that this equipment is wrong, this machinery is not functional, this tool is not working, the plumb is not working, or the tape is not measuring, maybe some of the inscriptions are fading and all those things. So it is your responsibility to know that all these materials, equipment and tools are functional. So we have equipment testing records. So this records helps you to test the calibration, and the maybe the tripod of the dumping level and so on. So, and under these equipment testing records, we have the calibration certificate. So you check to know that it is functional, then you issue a certificate for the calibration, then equipment inspection report. So after you've done your inspection on the equipment, so you issue a statement with a report. You understand? If it is not adequate, it will be stated in your report that it is not adequate. But if the equipment is in good condition, then you also state it in your report that the equipment is in good condition and can be used. Yeah, so what we have here is final testing and approval. So the first thing we have here is test summary report. So maybe after all your testing and everything, you write out your reports. You understand? The report on the machineries, the report on the equipment. You understand? Just write all the reports on all these points that we've made earlier. So with that report, you'll be able to submit it to your client. Then you have client approval document, because there are documents that your client will be giving to you, which your checklist and the likes of them is still part of those documents. So you make sure you attend to those documents and handle them with the optimum care. Then we have hand over quality records. So you ensure you hand over a quality record, because if in as much as all these your soil testing documents, your concrete testing records, your material test report, quality inspection reports, then equipment testing records. So all these records, you ensure that you hand over quality, records that it is relatable, that your client can relate with. So good documentation will give better quality and reduce construction risk. So it is very, very important for you to have good documentation, because if you can keep all these documents for your material testing reports, documents for concrete testing records, soil testing document, quality inspection report, equipment testing records, then your final testing and approvals. If you can keep all these records, so it will give you good documentation, and this good documentation will give better quality control, right? And it will also reduce construction risk.